I am super excited for you to join me in this end-to-end training as I break down the exact playbook for how you can generate 6- and 7-figure commercial and large residential projects utilizing cold email. Now, before I get into the tactical side of this training, I do want to just make a statement here. If you're watching this and you're about to dismiss this, thinking cold email doesn't work, I get emails from people all the time. It's spammy. I hate it. It doesn't work. Or you've tried and you've reached out to builders, contractors, and you haven't gotten any response. I encourage you not to dismiss this. Like anything else, Facebook ads, Google ads, it is an art and a science. Things need to be set up technically and structured properly. The emails need to be crafted in a very specific way, and you need to have a few key ingredients to actually compel your prospects to take action with you. So those are the things that I'm going to break down in this training. And so I encourage you, don't dismiss this. You would be doing yourself a massive disservice if you do. Go through this video, implement, reach out if you have any questions, and I can assure you success lies on the other side of it because we've done it time and time and time again. We have a proven track record with exactly what I'm going to show you. And so you're not going to be putting anything out there, trial and error. You're going to be able to implement a repeatable, successful process that our clients have used to generate multiple 8 figures in revenue over the last 8 years. Let's go ahead and get into the training. So the first thing that I want to share with you guys is that you have to, in order for this to be successful, have a truly compelling competitive advantage that you're going to the market with. All right. Without that, you have no differentiation, right? So there's no reason for a builder, contractor, developer to want to explore working with you over whoever they worked with on the last job. Inherently, in doing that, there is risk to both their bottom line, their reputation, and they're just not going to do that. So you need to have differentiation in terms of what are the unique advantages that you are presenting to them that would compel them to consider working with you. All right. So you must have differentiation. Otherwise, you're left to compete on price alone. And that's not the arena that you want to play in, the race to the bottom, where essentially the only way that you can compete is by being the lowest priced option. Absolutely what you don't want. You actually want to be able to charge a little bit of a premium because you have unique advantages that will impact their bottom line and reputation in other ways aside from simply the bid price that you're submitting. So the other thing that causes companies to often not be successful when they try new business development, whether it's using cold email, the phone, or actually going out to see people at their offices or job sites, is a lack of bandwidth. Whether that's from the business owner, sales manager, sales reps, outbound specialists, there's so much other work to be done admin-wise, the oversight, project management that you get sucked into. There's just a lack of bandwidth to be able to do new business development consistently, therefore for it to be effective. The other challenge that companies often run into when they try new business development is they hit the phones or they get out there and knock on doors, meaning they're going out to job sites, they're stopping in on people's offices. And I'm not discounting that. That is an approach that you should adopt, but we often find that it's largely being done ineffectively. And one of the main reasons for that, as highly skilled as your sales team might be, or you yourself might be, it's that you don't have a competitive advantage, and therefore there is no reason for them to really want to spend time talking to you because you don't pose any significant benefits to them over who they're currently working with other than price. So they're just going to cut to the chase. What do you have to offer? Why would we consider working with you? And if you don't have the ability to articulate that in a way that's compelling for them, you're really not going to get anywhere. All right. And that often is very demotivating for business owners, sales reps, business development specialists, is that they're just going to hit a wall and they're going to end up quitting. So the difference with cold email is when done properly and you're able to grab the prospect's attention and have them actually read your messaging, you can very clearly and concisely tell them why it matters to them to spend time reading this email, hearing what your advantages are that you bring to the table as a potential partner, and motivate them to take action. And email can do that in less than 10 to 15 seconds. It is highly effective, and we're going to break that all down for you in a moment. The other challenge is that when you're lacking the bandwidth to do new business development consistently and you don't have an effective channel, then it becomes really hard to build meaningful and profitable relationships at scale, right? You might be able to get lucky, get on a job site, have a good conversation, and land one project. But you need to have your pipeline consistently being filled with bid opportunities and project opportunities for that to really have a meaningful impact on your business. So you need to be able to have a mechanism that allows you to do this at scale all day, every day. And that's where this playbook that I'm going to share with you is going to give you all of the tools necessary to be able to do just that. So now that we've covered the common things that companies will run into that prevents them from being able to be successful with new business development, let's get into the training. Break down step by step how you can leverage cold email, most effective tool to generate large commercial and residential projects. You're going to want to follow this closely as I break down every single step in our playbook. Now let's start off by setting the table. What are the ingredients of this playbook? To start with, you do need to have a truly compelling competitive advantage that you can go to the market with that will compel them to want to do business with you over the competition. So that's essential. Without that, it's really not going to move the needle a whole lot. Second thing that you need is a bit of the tech setup. You need to set up what we call burner domains and emails, because you can't do outreach at scale from your company domain. That would put your sender reputation, domain reputation at risk potentially. So really something to be avoided, because that could impact your ability to have a functioning company email inbox for you and your team members. So definitely not a step to be skipped. If you're watching this and you see all this exciting information in here and you want to just use your company domain, stop, don't do that. Make sure you go through each step in the playbook. Don't skip steps. Next is you need to have a well-curated prospect database that represents your ideal customers, and you want to have the total addressable market. The reason for that is it is a bit of a numbers game. You want to have enough volume to be able to really get significant traction, and so you need to have prospect database that's well put together that represents every single company that matches your ideal customer profile. When we've done this back in the day as an agency, we would always do this by hand, manually, because it's the way to be highly accurate and make sure that you're really putting together a prospect database, making sure that every single prospect on there is an ideal match and fit, but that is extremely time consuming. And while it is the best way to do it to ensure quality, it's really a non-starter for 99% of companies out there. They just don't have the bandwidth, resources, or technical know-how to be able to do that effectively. We're going to share with you a managed solution for that so that you can push the easy button and essentially be able to produce this in just a couple of days. Last but not least, you do need to have a highly effective email outreach tool. Some are better than others, and we're going to share with you our favorite tool for being able to do automated cold email outreach so that it can do the heavy lifting for you while you're working on the business, and essentially so that it can continue to essentially fill your pipeline while you're running your business. So let's go ahead and kick things off and break down these in depth, each one of those ingredients, so that you can follow along and be able to execute this playbook. First off, our competitive advantage formula. What you need to do and how you need to look at this. First things first, you need to deeply understand your ideal customer. What you want to be looking at is what are their persistent challenges, pains, and frustrations. And the best way to do this is if you're currently working with a handful of customers that match your ideal customer profile, then you want to spend time talking to them, interview them, and go deep, really uncover what are their pains, frustrations, what would they ideally like to see and experience when working with contractors of your type. That's how you uncover that data, right? Firsthand, talking to them. If you don't have any customers that represent your ideal customer, then there are other ways to do this. There are groups on Facebook. There are groups on LinkedIn of developers that are going to match your ideal customer. There are associations, and you can get in there and network. You can get into the community forums, and you can actively listen. You can pose questions to the group and really start to gather that intel, but not a step to be skipped, because in order to put your competitive advantage together so it actually connects with your prospect and they feel like these guys really understand me, they understand what I'm going through, they understand how to make my life better, they know how to impact our bottom line, you're going to need this intel to do that. So then you need to do the work to represent the solution. How have you been able to line up and solve for all of those pains, frustrations, and challenges that they're going through? And this gives you an advantage so that when they're comparing you to other vendors, you're not relying solely on price to motivate them to want to work with you. You represent something totally different. You are now being compared apples to oranges. And that's how you can, so long as you're coming in the ballpark on a bid, they won't just go with the lowest price, because there are several other truly compelling benefits to working with you specifically. Now, the last part to your competitive advantage formula is to never be complacent. Just because you've figured out a few solutions, you want to have a defensible competitive advantage, because it's always improving. And how you do that is to innovate, always innovate, and continue to listen, continue to uncover more things that you can solve for. And a big area to capitalize on here is, and how we've highlighted that in Innovate on the Wow, is on the ways of working. That's what that represents. Just because something's always been done this way, right? Everybody does it this way. Doesn't mean that's the best way, and doesn't mean that you should do it that way. How can you make it better? Always be looking at that. Now, let me break down, as you go through and brainstorm on that, a easy way to essentially break this down. So you've met with your customers, you've interviewed them, you've listened. I'm just going to use a quick example here. You've highlighted that really, when you package this all up, the persistent pain that they have, that they're communicating to you, is just their previous subcontractors were just unreliable and unprofessional vendors. And the problems they were experiencing were things like budget overruns, delays and poor communication, subpar quality. All right. And the symptoms of that are, like, the symptoms meaning, like, if you have a cold, how does that show up? You got a runny nose, body aches, etc. Those are the symptoms, right? So you've got the problems that they're experiencing, but how does that show up in their business? And the reason this is so important is when you put your competitive advantage together in your messaging, you want to be able to point to the symptoms so that they can see, they truly understand me. They get what we're going through. And you're highlighting these things. The more specific that you are, the more effective it's going to be. I've not gone super deep here. You could get more and more specific, but the budget overruns impact the bottom line. The delays and poor communication cause headaches and logistical issues. Now, you're going to want to get very specific though with the types of the delays, the types of poor communication, the specific symptoms of the headaches and logistical issues, and give examples. So here, I'm keeping this high level so I don't lose you on this by giving an example, but you're going to want to take this much deeper. All right. So what are the logistical issues and delays? Let's say that materials are delivered a week late. You're going to want to communicate and articulate the logistical issues that this causes, right? This backs up the other vendors. This causes delays in X, Y, and Z, and spell that all out. Subpar quality, impact to reputation. Again, giving examples when there's subpar quality and things have to be torn out and replaced and reinstalled. First of all, that makes them, look bad, and it also impacts everything else. So you really want to go deep here. The solutions is where, once you've identified all of those areas, you're going to want to come up with tangible solutions to each and every one of these if possible, right? The more things you can solve for, the more of an advantage you have, and the more you differentiate yourself from everybody else. So let's say their complaint has been budget overruns, that you're able to figure out that you can offer a guaranteed price lock within a plus minus window, plus minus by X percentage, and you're able to guarantee and lock that in. That would be a great solution. On delays and poor communication, you guys can guarantee that you deliver everything 3 weeks in advance of the timeline that's confirmed in the agreement and the proposal, that you'll lock in and everything will be there 3 weeks in advance to ensure that there are no unforeseen delays. And in terms of poor communication, you have a customer portal that delivers real-time automated updates, so they're always in the loop. And then last, in terms of subpar quality, well, this, you could have something like an 8 point quality check. And in the client portal, they're going to get real-time updates through video and images so they can see that everything is up to standard, leaving nothing to the imagination. And so there are no surprises. All right. So you really want to be creative here in how you're solving for things. For example, to give you another one, if a multifamily home developer, their complaint is that everything gets shipped to the job site at once and the crates are shipped, they're not labeled properly. Once they get broken open, because they're mislabeled, they end up with materials lying all over the place. It's disorganized, it's chaotic, things go missing, causing them to need to reorder and an impact to the bottom line now that there's waste. Your solution could be that you only ship crates as needed and you can ship as few or as many as they need. Everything's labeled per unit and QR coded to be able to be scanned so that they can keep inventory. And potentially you've even solved for resealable crates so they can keep everything organized and reducing the logistical nightmares and the chaos and the mess that often happens on a job site. So you can really explore and go deep. What can you solve for when you're really listening to the problems that they have? The next step is to come up with your competitive advantage statement. You've done some great brainstorming just now to break down everything in terms of the persistent pain, the problems that your ideal customers have. Now to really be able to codify that, to bring that all together so that you can clearly articulate this to your prospects in a very concise way so that they understand it and understand it quickly, is to put that all together into one short statement. All right, so I'm going to break this down for you now in terms of the three elements. You've got to articulate to them that you understand their persistent pain, the problems they have with specific examples of those symptoms, and then that you can deliver their ideal outcome or experience, what they want, through a unique mechanism. And I'll get into what that is, but it essentially is the packaging and positioning of your solution. The first part of your competitive advantage statement highlights the persistent pain and who you serve. So in this example, we help commercial developers in the San Antonio, Texas area that specialize in office, retail, and hospital projects and that are frustrated by unreliable and unprofessional vendors, right? That was in the brainstorm that we just did. And that is a result of problem one, right? So if it was budget overruns, and then the symptoms A, B, and C. Problem number two, if that was delays and poor communication, and the symptoms A, B, and C. And problem number three, I wouldn't necessarily go beyond three problems that you're highlighting in your competitive advantage statement because it's going to become too long. So you're highlighting the top three and all of the symptoms that we went through in the last exercise. The next step, once you've done that, is to clearly articulate how you deliver their ideal outcome and the experience that they really want to have when working with a partner vendor such as you. You've got to be able to articulate the ideal outcome and experience that you will deliver and how you do that. Now, the best way to do this is to take all of the solutions that you identified and package that into one unique mechanism. All right, that's Marketing 101. Having a unique mechanism will also separate you from your competition because they can't compare what you offer to anybody else. And it really simplifies it for them and makes it easy to understand. So you want to take the time to actually give it a unique name. So for example, it would be your XYZ program or XYZ solution. That's generally a good naming convention. All right. So to give it a unique name and leverage a word like program or solution. And within that program, they gain access to all of these unique solutions and benefits. All right. So quick example of that is, you deliver the ideal outcome and experience, what they really want through your contractor concierge program. All right. So you've given it a unique name, and within that program is how you deliver, your turnkey process for both supply and install. And you're able to solve for all the problems that they have. You've listed them all and all the benefits that come from that. That is how you develop both the brainstorming part to identify how you can have a competitive advantage and then be able to clearly and concisely put that all together into one statement. So now that you've got the elements of your competitive advantage and are able to clearly articulate that to your ideal customers and you've packaged it all in a unique mechanism, you're ready to actually set up the tech and tools. The first part that you're going to need to do is to buy those burner domains that I had mentioned earlier so that you can do outreach at scale. Burner domains can be purchased at sites like GoDaddy, domain.com, Namecheap. However, we used to use Google domains. That was in beta for a long time and then was recently sold to Squarespace. We prefer Squarespace because it's got a really user-friendly backend and dashboard to be able to buy your domains and set up the plumbing. So in order for you to have strong deliverability, you need to have the plumbing of your domains and your email account set up properly. And when you get into a GoDaddy or Namecheap, their backends are a bit less user-friendly. It becomes a bit of a headache to set up some of these things. So we recommend Squarespace. The things that you're going to need to set up when you purchase your domains is your SPF. So make a note of this: SPF, your DKIM records, and your DMARC records. Those three things are essential to ensure that you're going to have a high deliverability rate. All right, so SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records, those things need to be set up when you purchase your domain on a platform like Squarespace. All right, the other key recommendation that I have for you is to keep things really easy. You're going to be purchasing basically a .net. So that's the first one that I would purchase. So you've got your www.companyname.com. You're simply going to buy the .net version of that. I would avoid buying domains with a hyphen in it if you're trying to be creative and other things are already purchased. Move into some of the other domain extensions like a .info. Don't buy a .org because that's for nonprofits, but a .net, a .info, those will be the go-to. You probably aren't going to need more than 2 domains to run outreach from to hit the volume that you'd want to have. So a .net, .info, those are the ones I would go with. Now, you do need to set up outreach emails that are going to connect to the email outreach software tool, and you'll want to use either Gmail or Microsoft Outlook. We have traditionally always used Gmail, but just over the last few months, there are certain things being rolled out by Gmail or have already been rolled out that may impact deliverability. And so some cold email practitioners and specialists are moving to Microsoft Outlook. In future videos, we may tackle a separate training on that, but we need to do more testing on our side before we make that call. If you're a Gmail user, Google Workspace user, or a Microsoft Outlook user currently, just go to the one that you're familiar with, and that's what I would recommend versus trying to set up something new. So once you've got your domains purchased, it's time to build your prospect database so you can start to reach out to your ideal prospects and ideal customers. So next, once you've purchased your domains and you've got the DKIM, SPF, and DMARC records in place, you're now going to move to the next step in the playbook to build your prospect database. I'm going to actually give you a demo of that now, utilizing a managed service. In the description below, you're going to find links to all of the technology and the software tools that we recommend to both build your prospect database and to do your cold outreach. All right, so you'll find that below. Once you've located that, you're going to be able to follow along to build your prospect database and to launch your cold email campaigns. Now, let me walk you through the steps of doing this. When you land inside of the prospect database building tool, you're going to hit the button at the top for a new task. Basically, a new task means that you're going to be placing an order in this managed service for them to build your prospect database based on the criteria that you're giving them. And there are a few different options in here, and I'm going to give you a breakdown of each one of them. The first one is to be able to use their tool to locate small businesses in a specific area. All right, so for example, if we're going to do San Antonio, Texas. So that's the location that you want to focus on where your business is located, and you have a serviceable radius of, let's say, 50 miles. All right, your contracting business can service up to 50 miles in the San Antonio area. You're going to go ahead and hit add. From there, if that's the only target area you're focused on, go ahead and hit next. You're then going to type in the target industry. So let's say you want to target home builders. Just for the sake of this example, I'm going to pick home builders. What you can do is you pick 2 of these businesses to validate that these match your ideal target. So let's go ahead and look at this first one. It's going to open up their website and we're going to check it out. What type of projects do they work on? Where are the projects located? So you would do a full check to ensure that this is a good match for you. You've checked it out and you've checked out the other one, and you can validate that yes, they work on the types of projects you would like to work on. Then you can go ahead and hit next. So we've added home builders to our targeting. You can add in others. So you could put in home builders, general contractors, but we recommend that you just do one target industry type per order so you can easily keep your prospect database organized and you don't have to get into a lot of filtering later. All right, so go ahead and hit next. From there, you're going to break down who are the decision makers that you're targeting. First, seniority level. So we're going to go after owners, founders, and directors and executives, and probably middle management, because when we're talking about general contractors, developers, builders, you might have everything from the president of the company, that might be the email we're able to locate, all the way through to senior estimator, project manager, purchasing manager. So there's a wide range, and you don't want to exclude any of the levels of seniority for what their system will be able to find. So you could type in purchasing manager, hit the plus symbol, and go for all of the different levels: senior estimator, project manager, etc., and enter them all in. All right, so now we've got our location, we've got our industry, we've got the key decision makers, and we can go and move into some other filters. That could be size, revenue, right? If we want to work with those that have 7-figure projects, they're going to have revenue, let's say minimum 10 million. Let's say they do 2 projects a year that are going to be easily over 10 million. No maximum. Go ahead and hit next. Next filter we might want to have is if you've got a current existing customer list, you can go ahead and upload that here so they don't just give you prospects of people you already work with. The next filters you have, you could do headcount, but you also, I recommend, should use filter by website keywords. All right, so that if, for example, you want to, if we've got home builders here that work on multi-unit, so you want to be able to filter only those that have multi-unit, go ahead and put that in. Now, you should keep into consideration that there's many variations there: multi-unit, multi-family, et cetera, apartment complexes. And so you're going to want to filter for that. That is an example of how they can start to really narrow and ensure that you're getting a good quality match. Now, the thing I should mention is a service like this. Again, the link is in the description below. The results vary. I'd say when you place your order, 70-80% of the database is going to be a match. The other 20 to 30% is not going to be a match. And you're going to need to flag those on your own, submit them back to them so you get those credits back, versus, again, what we would normally be doing on our side is a manual approach so that every single thing is a match. And the way that we do that, just to provide a little transparency there, we go into Google search, we find every company in an area, we put that into a spreadsheet, we break down all the data points, and then we go and utilize different technology and tools to locate the actual validated emails so that we can do the outreach. So we do it in Google, we do all the Google My Business profile listings, we go through all the directories that are out there, all the associations, and that's how we essentially pull all of that together. We use LinkedIn as well, but a tool like this you can leverage, and it'll do a lot of the heavy lifting and represent a shortcut for you. Now, once you've done that, go ahead and hit deliver, and you're going to want to select all of the relevant data points that you're going to be able to leverage: name, company email, job title, website, LinkedIn profile. You can also find their Google My Business listing profile, how many reviews they have, their company profile, LinkedIn profile, all the way through. Revenue is a good one, so you can add that. Just click it and add that there. The search term and search location are usually good. So the search term, if it was home builders, you'll be able to easily filter and organize your database by the search term. So if you got home builders, luxury home builders, contractors, developers, it makes it easier for you to organize. Any other notes that you want to provide their team to help them be able to essentially provide the highest quality possible for you, you'll want to enter that in there. Once you've actually upgraded and you have enough credits, for example, and you're on a plan, you can go ahead and launch this. I'm just in a trial account here or a demo account because again, when we do this, we handcraft our databases. But we have program members and clients that have leveraged this for a very long time, and it provides effective results. That is how you'll essentially go ahead and place your order. When you're utilizing this service, it takes about 24 to 48 hours, and then they're going to email you the prospect database that they've built out. So it's going to come in for you. All right, so you're going to get a database back like this, and you have a couple of options. Through the software tool that you use to generate this prospect database, they do validate the emails. There is some margin of error, but you can honestly run your campaigns with that. Or you can subscribe to a service like Million Lead Verifier and essentially sign up, upload your database, and it'll essentially really clean this up so that you're only left with validated emails to reach out to, which does help with your deliverability, your sender reputation, etc. A helpful tool here if you want to use that. Otherwise, the results from what you're going to receive from the provider here is pretty good, and so you can kind of run with it. Thing I will mention is you will want to go through and make sure your formatting is done properly. So what you'll find is sometimes when they're pulling the data, they're going to pull it from LinkedIn, Yelp, the Better Business Bureau, the Google profile, wherever they're sourcing that data from. Sometimes you're going to get a company name that's in all caps. And so because when you're reaching out with your cold email and you're doing dynamic properties to auto insert company names to do this at scale, you don't want to be reaching out to somebody. I think this could have a big impact for insert company name and have all capital letters because nobody would ever actually type that out. So it is worthwhile to go through yourself and format and clean this database up properly, or have a VA virtual assistant that you hire to do that cleanup for you. All right, so I've gone through how to build out your prospect database using essentially small business locator using Google search. And now let me take you through a couple of other options that they offer. You can use LinkedIn. So for example, logging into LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a powerful directory. So if you're searching again, home builders, go ahead and type in home builders, then select people. You're going to want to select second, whether or not you use LinkedIn actively, as long as you have a profile, you're going to be able to generate the results you need to get this tool to pull all the results. People that match the home builder search type. Second connection is what I recommend. And then location. So if we were to do the same thing, San Antonio, Texas, show results, and you've got 52 results here. You're going to want to continue to play with this a little bit to find more people, but you just take the URL here and you can go ahead and actually load that in here. And you can follow all the same steps you went through before, so I won't double up on that. They will then pull all the leads from that LinkedIn search. Pretty cool, right? The other option is you can use online directories. So home builders in San Antonio, Texas, and then put the keyword in. Sorry, I missed that. Directories. So keyword directories here, you're going to find all of these are great options. So you've got a builder directory. Let's go ahead and check this out. All right, so you've got a builder directory here, and you can see that it's got 75 results. You can simply take that and load it into the platform. It's going to go find the verified data for all of the home builders in this directory. There's going to be directories that you're familiar with, obviously. So for example, House is a good directory for builders. And even though it says best 15, what you'll find when you go ahead and open that up is there are going to be a lot more options than just the top 15. That's really to get you to click on it in search. But you'll see here that there are 16 pages that are coming up here. And I think it's showing 971 professionals in this area, but you're likely going to want to do some additional filtering here that you can do directly within House. It'll generate you a new URL of results. Go ahead and take that, and you're going to enter it into the online directory that you want to use. Go ahead and hit next, and then everything else you're going to follow from the first demo that I gave you to essentially build your prospect database using online directories and LinkedIn search. So that's a wrap for this section of the training for how to generate your prospect database using a leverageable tool. That again is in the description below. So we've reached about the halfway point of this training. You just learned how to build a high quality prospect database of your ideal customers. And now we can move into the really exciting part of how to set up our outreach tool and the formula for crafting winning and high converting cold email outreach campaigns. In terms of email outreach tools, we do have our hands down favorite. I've linked it in the description below, so you can go ahead and check that out after you've gotten through this training. But essentially, once you go ahead, click that link and set up an account, you're then able to add your email accounts. So your dashboard will be blank, but essentially you're going to go in to the email account icon on the upper left-hand corner and go ahead and add a new account. So you purchased your domain, you will have selected either Gmail or Outlook for your email account, and you can go ahead and connect that here. So you can go ahead and if it was Gmail, click on Gmail. And I'm not going to go in depth into the technical aspects of setting this up because the video would take, this training would take even longer. And also they have built into their dashboard all of the resources and video guides to walk you through the technical parts of this. Just follow the prompts as you move through this and they'll explain everything. So they want you to connect your Google account enabling IMAP. And if you don't know how to do that, you essentially just click on this link, open it up, read the guide, and it'll show you where to go in your settings in Google, where to enable IMAP. Very, very straightforward. Once you've done that, go ahead, hit IMAP has been enabled. You're all set. And now you're going to select the authorization option. This is the one they recommend. So we've always gone with that. Again, if you don't know how to do it, you've never done it before, you just go ahead, open the video up, watch it. They'll walk you through. You're simply copying this snippet here. They'll tell you the right place to put that in your Google Workspace. You add it in, you go ahead and log in, and everything is connected. Once it's connected, you'll essentially have something that matches this, but you'll just have the one account that you just added, and you can move to the next step to actually warm up your email. So I'm not going to walk through how to warm it up. They've made it very, very straightforward for you. Again, there are many resources included in the account. And so essentially you'll just follow those to go ahead and warm up your account, but I'll tell you why that's important. Essentially, this feature and tool builds your sender reputation. So when your domain is brand new, it doesn't have any reputation or a sender score essentially that's been developed through years of sending emails that people have engaged with and therefore indicating this is trusted. And so when you go ahead and activate the warm-up, over time, it's going to build your sender reputation, ensuring your deliverability is optimized. And the recommendation is to run this for about 3 weeks. So keep that in mind. You could launch campaigns before that, but if you want to have the best results, set a note where you're going to allow this to run for 21 days or so prior to launching your first campaign. The other things to note for you is that within this, there are some nice tools. You have a Unibox, they call it. So all the different email accounts, essentially, all the replies go into one centralized box. You'll be able to see all the replies in here. You'll be able to filter status based on interested to just see the interested replies that you've received. And the other nice thing that they have introduced is a beta CRM. So you can go ahead and explore that as well. And if you don't have a CRM at all, it's a nice lightweight tool that'll allow you to organize the opportunities as you begin to progress them forward through the customer journey. When you go down into settings, there's the option to integrate many different tools. So if you use Slack and you want to get a notification as soon as a lead comes in, that's really handy. You can also start to experiment with OpenAI to generate automatic email responses. We would generally recommend you start with personalizing your responses versus trying to automate that because you don't want AI to fumble it when you're dealing with large commercial, really valuable projects, right? You can connect your Google Calendar so you can book meetings directly through this tool, and you can connect the top 3 CRMs, Pipedrive, HubSpot, Salesforce. And then other tools that you might use, you can connect with Zapier. You also have a block list, which you can go ahead and import a CSV file of your existing customers that you don't want to reach out to. You can use a Google Sheet, and you can also enter data manually. So if somebody says, hey, don't reach out to me anymore, you can add them manually to the block list so that you don't end up getting flagged for spam by continuing to reach out to them. Now, I'll show you when we actually go launch a campaign, how the different settings prevent that often from happening, because once they respond, the sequence stops. Let's move into the next part of the training. We're going to get into sharing with you 7-figure cold email formula to be able to craft compelling emails that convert your prospects consistently. I'm going to go through basic email structure 101. I'll likely film another video at a later date going deep into the art and science of crafting the perfect email. But for now, I'm going to keep it fairly high level, and then I'm going to go and show you how to actually build this in the email outreach software. From a very high level, a proper structure for email is to have three things: clarity as to who you are and what you're reaching out about, and then very quickly give them context as to why this matters to them. So you want to insert elements of your unique value proposition, your competitive advantage, from the perspective of why would they care and why would they be motivated to engage with you, and then a very clear, straightforward call to action. I've highlighted these here in yellow, green, and then magenta. Basically, the top line is giving them clarity. Hey, I'm reaching out about X to discuss with you. Then the second section, you're inserting, hey, I know that you may be familiar with the insert pain, frustration, symptoms, and then the desired outcome that you offer and the value and benefit of that. All right. And then you're calling them to action. All right. So I'm going to move to giving you an actual example of an email template and then loading that into the email software tool to launch your campaign. We generally recommend that a email campaign has 3 to 4 emails at minimum. And I'll show you in a moment how to actually load that in here and launch a campaign. As you can see, we've got the breakdown here of these elements that I showed you a moment ago. In my email template, I've given clarity on what I'm reaching out about, and then I've got my context, why this matters to them from the standpoint of what the benefits are and showing that I understand their pains, frustrations, and the issues that they commonly encounter, right? So you would go back to your competitive advantage statement and bake that into this section of your email. The tips I would give you is to keep this as short as possible. You'll notice that this email is 4 paragraphs or 4 sentences long, and I've kept them very short. Far too often people write really long emails, and when somebody gets this on mobile, for example, all of that text is condensed and it looks like a novel, and people just go, oh, I don't have time for this, and they never come back to reading your email. You've got to keep it so that if they're on mobile, they can easily scroll and just scan through the copy or scan through the email and see if this is something they want to take the time to give attention to, right? So super concise, super brief, and you'll see success in that. You're going to take your competitive advantage statement and translate it here. I'll give you just a quick run through of what this says. I suspect that you know that insert service. So I suspect that you know that tile and flooring can be a stressful part of a project. Missed deadlines, poor communication and execution, leading to lost revenue, right? So you're pointing to the problems. We didn't get into the symptoms here because there's multiple emails, right? And you don't have to do all the heavy lifting in one email, right? You can come at it from different angles through your 3 to 4 emails. At company name, we offer stress-free tile and flooring delivered, and then value 1, 2, and 3, for example, which are those benefits from your solution. And then we want to demonstrate credibility here by including a link to our work for review. Then after that, very clear call to action. What's the best way to go about seeing if we could be a fit for company name? That is a very soft, non-aggressive, or non-assumptive call to action. We could also have, I can give you a call this week is also an option at, and then if you remember, there's going to be custom properties in your email software tool that will dynamically insert things like phone number here. I could give you a call this week at insert phone number, how's Thursday or Friday morning. So being very assumptive, this call to action, and the reason I wanted to give that demo to you live is the last option I showed is something most people would do, like any interest in connecting, look forward to your feedback. You can be more assumptive. And the reason a tactic like this works so well is nobody wants to be called on the phone. So they're like, oh, no, John, don't call me on the phone. I'll just respond to this email. What they've said, does connect with me. Let me just give them my quick feedback and I can further this conversation via email versus the phone. Now, the reason a call to action with this kind of structure works so well is that most people don't want to be called at this stage. They've gotten your email, they see that there's value in it, but they'd rather give you their feedback in email first. So this encourages them to respond to avoid being called by you. All right, you can see the tactics at play here, but there is going to be a percentage of your prospect database that doesn't mind a call, and they're going to be like, sure, Thursday morning at 10, or The reason that we're specific saying Thursday or Friday is if those don't work for them, they can say, no, you know what? Wednesday afternoon works better for me. How's 2, right? And you can just cut right to the chase. Standard, and I won't go through all of these, the format usually is to have what most people call a bump email and email number 2. I avoid having email number 2 say things like, just following up on, or in case you missed my previous email. The reason we do that is keep in mind, when you receive an email, if you go ahead right now, open your Gmail, your Outlook, you can see the preview text of the first, I forget exactly if it's like 15 words or so, a certain amount of characters, you see it in your preview text. On mobile, you see that as well. If you see an email that just says, hey Roger, in case you missed my email, right? Is there anything compelling about that email that makes that person want to open it? No. So the job of the first line is always to compel them. Something like, I believe the reason I'm trying my best to connect with you, John, is I believe that we can represent competitive advantage for company name. Now, you could even make that more intriguing by putting the advantage in there, right? So I kept this sort of generic, but from the previous exercise you went through with competitive advantage, it could say the reason I'm trying my best to reach out to you, John, is that we eliminate, and then insert frustration, so they can see you understand when dealing with tile and flooring partners on your projects, right? So that way he can see right away, what is this about? Then the second line here, again, is the context and an angle on the UVP. In this case, we operate with the intent to execute, insert ideal outcome, without incurring what they want to avoid. So in our competitive advantage brainstorm, they want to avoid delays, budget overruns, unprofessional subcontractors impacting their relationships. And you want to essentially insert that here. All right. Is it worth 10 minutes to connect? I've got the clear call to action here to see the impact we can make on your next project. We're not beating around the bush. We're being very direct since we've articulated what the advantage and benefit to them would be. All the way down to a third email here. This is where we might, if we haven't been able to move the needle yet, give them more context. So you'll notice that here, some bullets to really break down the competitive advantage elements and the unique benefits here is giving them a lot more context. So we've just sort of touched on things up here. And then if we haven't been able to move the needle with them yet, let's go ahead and give them as much context as possible while still keeping things brief. The other quick hack that I'll give you, or tip, we want to keep emails very concise and very brief. We want the call to action to be the last element before the signature. But there are things that we can add to intensify the success of our email structure, like credibility, social proof, for example. And so we would use what we call like a dynamic signature, where you're adding number of Google reviews or associations that you're part of. Some of the awards you've potentially won, for example, can all go into your signature format, right? And then the other element that you can add is a PS. And that's how you can bake in other elements here to add more credibility. So if you've got a notable builder, so if you're reaching out to builders and you've got a notable builder client and you've got a testimonial from them or a case study of a project where you can really highlight that you successfully did eliminate the pains and frustrations that your prospect has, then you would insert what we call just a one-line case study in here. You essentially mention your client, the problem, challenge, and the solution and the outcome. And also you could put in the testimonial as well, all in one. So that will really intensify just how compelling this email is. Coming all the way back to the top, I didn't actually cover subject line. Subject line is something that there is an art and science to. I'm going to give you some of our favorite options. So for example, just their first name creates a lot of curiosity. When they see that people respond well to hearing their first name, seeing their first name, and they don't know what it's about, curiosity gets the click, gets the open, and then the first line provides the clarity, and then the context with the benefits causes them to read the whole email. So first name is good. If you're reaching out about upcoming projects, you could say, John, upcoming projects. Now that's two elements of curiosity, their name and what upcoming projects. Is this an upcoming project for us? Now you don't want to use subject lines that feel like a bait and switch or clickbait, but it is a one-to-one match later for the clarity of what you're reaching out about. And so they're not going to be upset by this. But you can see how this will prompt people to open the email. If you got this email, John, upcoming projects, there's a good chance you're going to go and open this email. Once you've got this drafted, you want to actually proofread it by by reading it aloud or out loud. Because often when you're too close to something and you've spent a lot of time reading it, you're going to kind of glaze over it, scan it, and you're going to miss things. Reading out loud ensures that you're not going to overlook things. Once you've done that, we recommend using a free spam checker tool for email. I think this one is called Mail Meter. So you can see it's a free spam checker tool. You copy and paste your email directly into this section here, and it's going to highlight the things that it would deem as shady, right? That'll have your email flagged as potential spam, which will automatically then be filtered out for spam. And then what are the things? Are you creating urgency? Are you over promising? Is it unnatural? So it'll identify all of these elements so that you can adjust them. All right, so let's go ahead and go into our email copy here. Let's go ahead and grab this and just use as an example. I've actually not run this through here before, so let's see what it says. We got a poor score. You can see the reason why. It's got two things it's going to deem as shady and one thing resulting in anytime in an ad, like a meta ad, Facebook, Instagram, or email, where it's make an offer around money, it can be seen as spammy. So at ABC Builder, right, because we had that generic one, it's going to remove that. We deliver, okay, we'd have to change this word, deliver. So I'll just put that in there. We deliver stress-free. So free is being flagged as spam. So you could use ChatGPT for this. Let's go ahead and do that now. Just to show you the process, you can use all of these tools, and I'm sure you've likely used ChatGPT before. Go ahead and enter this in and then ask, replace the word free in this email to avoid spam filters. No, not hassle-free. We're looking for replace the word free. Sometimes it doesn't get it right. Okay. So I don't love the option that it gave us, but let's go ahead and plug it in here. We deliver, so at ABC Tile and Flooring, we deliver insert service with ease. Or it could be at ABC Tile and Flooring, we deliver a seamless tile and flooring experience, right? That would be a better way of saying it. And we now have an okay overall score. I wouldn't worry about messing around with this too much. If you feel good about your email, you feel good that you're delivering a competitive advantage, to try and get a score that's in a good or above average score. Not necessary. I just don't want it to come out as being flagged as potential spam. I don't think that this tool is optimized for direct response email. And so it's not going to know what a great email structure is, in my opinion. All right, so now that we've got all of these updated and you've cleaned it up, you got them exactly the way that you want them to be, we are going to go ahead and load that into our email outreach software. We're going to go ahead and click on campaigns, navigate to add new, and you're going to go ahead and name your campaign. Generally, I recommend keeping your campaigns well organized by following a specific naming convention. So let's say we had home builders, and from our previous, we had database build. It was San Antonio, Texas, I think that we used. So the region, and then like how many leads did they generate for us if it was 150 leads, and then I like to have the date. So let's go ahead and put that in there. We've got the date. So because if you're running 10 campaigns over time, not at once, but if you're running 10 campaigns and you're trying to find one later, having a naming convention that you follow will help to keep things organized. Now, what we're going to do is go ahead and add our leads. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and add our leads. So this is the database that you will have received, when you're using the prospect database building tool. And so you're going to go ahead and just grab, I'll use this one. I'm going to go ahead and use this demo sheet that I created, which is one dummy lead for this demonstration purpose, so that we can move it forward pretty quickly. Because if you've got 150 leads, it'll take a little bit of time. So go ahead and essentially you make that database public by making it visible to anybody with the link. Go ahead and add that in here, and it's going to process the file. And when I say it takes a bit of time, for 150 leads, that might take a minute, 2 minutes, but I want it to be instant for this purpose of this training. The next thing you're going to do is just make sure that everything maps to the column headers that you have. First name, last name, company name, job title, all the data points that you selected, revenue, etc. It will match those here. So you just want to make sure they match, email, etc., so that when you go to dynamically insert those, first name, company name, email, phone number, all going to do it correctly. So go ahead and check that. Once they all line up, you can go ahead and upload all. They have released a new feature where you can verify these leads and make sure that the emails are valid and they're not catch-all emails. Catch-all emails are things like an info where it's just essentially all emails that are sent to that company domain go into all one email box, whereas you really want to reach out to the decision maker. So you could use something like that, but I believe there's an upgrade to that. So go ahead and click on upload all. Once you've done that, you'll see that you've got your one lead. It might just take a moment. We'll populate in the background and it'll be there for you to reach out to. Now you're going to go ahead and grab your email copy that you've finalized there and you're going to insert it here. All right, so you'll grab your subject line, first name. You'll get familiar with the custom variables they have, is what they call them, variables. So you have the option of putting in your account signature once you've updated that in the settings. So the variables that they offer are all of the different options. So you can use the custom variable option here, and those are things like first name, phone number, company name, lead type. You can make your own. And essentially that's what these represent, is that it'll automatically insert the information that matches your prospect database. All right, so we go ahead, we load all of that in, and then we're gonna add another step. So when we do that, we're gonna go back to what we drafted, and we're gonna go ahead and add in email number 2, and we'll place that here. We leave the subject line blank if we want this email to go into the same original thread. If you want to have a different email thread entirely, change the subject line here, and that's what will happen. It'll create a whole fresh thread. You wanna select the number of days. A good default one for you to not overthink this is a 3-5-3 delay. So 3 days between an email, 5 days, and then 3 days. All right, so basically you would repeat that when you go ahead and enter your third email down here, which we didn't customize, but I'll just enter it in here. We've got our third email. You'd want to make sure you get your formatting nice and tight. Everything is updated. So you'll notice we've got the 3, 5. If you've got 4 emails, then you would add in, if you have 4 emails, you would add in that last delay. So you'd see it's got a 3-5-3 delay here. We'll go ahead and delete this 4th email. It also has the option for A/B testing. So if you want to test the subject line or a different element, you can go ahead and do that. But for the purposes of this demonstration, let's just load in our 3 emails that we have. Everything is customized, and then you'll want to preview your email. When you go ahead and preview your email, you will be able to send a test email. So you can send a test email to yourself, and you'll want to see how does that show up. Did it insert the custom variables of their first name, their company name, and all of those properties? Because the last thing you want to do is send an email that has dummy text in it, clearly showing people this is automated in a template, because they're going to flag you and mark you as spam. All right, so go ahead and send yourself a test, and you can also check your deliverability. The deliverability that's going to show up on the screen in a moment will indicate, do you have your plumbing set up properly that I indicated at the beginning, where you've got your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC record set up properly so that you can feel confident that your email is going to show up in their inbox, not in the promotional tab, not in the spam, and that it's going to land in their inbox, because that's the first objective. Make sure you land in their inbox so they see it, and then you can move forward to optimizing other things like open rate, click-through rate, reply rate. That's essentially how you go ahead and create and load your email campaign. And then there's a couple of other things that I'll walk you through here. You have got, when you're in here, you've got to hit save on each and every email before you move to the next step. So go ahead and hit save on all of these, and now you can move to your schedule. So your schedule is essentially if you want to have it launch now, or you can change the date of when it launches and how long you want it to run for. What we recommend is give 3 to 4 weeks for every 100 leads that you have. All right, so if you want it to run through the end of the month, you go ahead and select that there. So it's 3 weeks if I had 100 leads, and that's the schedule it's going to run on. We typically recommend that you would run emails 9 to 5 in business hours. Our preference is to have our email schedule end a little bit before the end of the day, so that most people aren't trying to wrap things up, leave the office, and we have a better reply rate. So you could save your schedule 1, for example, save it, and you'll see that you have this option. You've got your time zones as well. Last but not least, I'll just walk you through a few things that when you go ahead and build this out, you'll want to make note of to optimize your campaign deliverability and make sure that certain things are set up so your campaign is successful. Go ahead and pick the account that you had linked and warmed up. You would select that here. This will automatically default to being enabled so that when somebody responds, the campaign sequence stops delivering, so that you're not getting somebody that says, yeah, I'm interested, and then you hit them with another email, right? You want to, at least within the first couple of weeks, bump this up to 50. We wouldn't go higher than that. The way in which you'll scale, if you want to, the volume of emails that you send is to use another email domain. So you can add your .net, your .info, et cetera, up at the top here. For all the accounts that you've added, you can send 50 for each of those, which if you've added 3 is 150 emails per day, but it's distributed across accounts. All right, so that plays it safe in terms of staying within daily send limits so that you don't get flagged. The last thing that I'll go through is most of the default settings here are fine. You don't need to go through many of them, but I would put to have stop campaign for company reply. So there's somebody, not the prospect you've reached out to, but somebody else with that same company domain responds, it shuts off. And then go ahead and save and or launch. And essentially, you've got your campaign running and you can then start to monitor your analytics. So it's going to be able to show you how many have been activated in your sequence, what's the open rate, what's the click rate. If you're showing your work, you'll be able to see, okay, this many people have clicked on our website link for our work or another link that you've included. I wouldn't include too many, that impacts deliverability, the reply rate, and how many opportunities you've generated. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this final part of the training. You now know how to use our favorite email outreach tool, load your prospect database, build out your campaigns, and launch them. And now I want to share with you some of the results that these campaigns have generated. As I had shared with you at the top of this training, we've had clients generate multiple 8 figures in revenue over the last 4 years from running the playbook I just went and broke down end to end for you. So now I want to help to motivate you, if you're not already inspired and motivated enough, by sharing with you some of the examples of the results that campaigns similar to that have generated. All right, so I can just bump into the screen a little bit here. This person basically has responded to a campaign saying, I appreciate you reaching out. We're going to be bidding on a project soon. It's for a 610 unit apartment complex. This next one, they obviously had some internal communication first before responding, and they'd love for us to take a look at 286 unit project, another 55 unit townhome project. They'll send over the drawings when they come in. Another one, we've got a nice job coming up. It's for 281 units in Atlanta. Hope to have drawings by mid-December. Thanks, Rob. All of these are immediate responses to the campaigns that I showed you when I demonstrated loading them into the email software. Nothing more complicated than that. And this is what our clients are getting back. Thanks for reaching out. This is a good example for when you're reaching out with a competitive advantage. Thanks for reaching out. Your facility and capabilities are very much in line with the level of production and excellence that we're looking for. So-and-so handles estimating. I've put you on the list for the next project. I'd like to start with something small to make sure communication, accountability, attention to detail are in line before doing a more high-level project or more high-profile project. Laura will send the subcontract agreement for your signature and review. This was a long time ago. Again, as I mentioned, we've been having clients leverage these playbooks for over 4 years, but I remember this one that they responded to the very first email. The competitive advantage was compelling for them. They reached out basically saying, we're going to get you on the list for the next project. Everything you're saying is in line with what we're looking for. Go ahead to expedite things and fill out the subcontractor agreement. There's another one where they've got a very nice project they just signed a contract for, and they want to know the serviceable region. Another great response. This one, basically they got the email and this person's like, I just tried to call you. Give me a call back at your convenience. I have a project I'd like to explore with you. So you can see that you're really able to move the needle with cold email a lot more easily than showing up on a job site or cold calling somebody. For them to go all the way through, adding you to the bid list, tying you into the estimating department, getting the subcontractor agreement all in one shot can be easily done through email when you follow the formula and playbook that I just broke down for you. So hopefully you found that to be incredibly informative. All right, that is it, guys. I hope you found that to be incredibly valuable. I hope you're motivated and inspired about the possibilities in leveraging cold email for your business to land 6- and 7-figure large commercial projects and residential projects, and that you're going to take everything I broke down here and execute. But I will say this, if you are looking at this and going, yeah, that was extremely detailed, I could follow this, but it's still a lot for me to figure out. We have within our 90-day growth engine program, all of these end-to-end systems built out in our academy where you can essentially follow paint by numbers or assign it to a member of your team. You could assign this to a front desk administrator, to a sales rep, and they can essentially follow our new business development playbook and launch your campaigns within just a few days, as many of our other program members have. Our 90-day growth engine program, just for a little context, essentially helps you move from unsure about how to achieve your big vision and goals to being able to build a business by design by leveraging proven playbooks and frameworks to help you scale your business more quickly and easily. So I've dropped a link below. You can book a growth game plan call with myself or my team, and we can discuss if this is the right fit for you and your business. I appreciate you spending all this time with me. If you think that there's somebody else that would benefit from watching this video, please go ahead and share it in emails, social, etc. And until next time, be driven for growth.